Anyone who's been married knows that marriage can be hard, but our first guests want to remind people that it is worth putting in the work. We welcome the original marriage flippers and the founders of the 24/7 Marriage podcast, Javier and Shannan Labrador. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Hannah. Thank you so much.
Tell me about what's a marriage flipper and how did you guys get into this work?
You want to tell them? You got to tell them.
Well, we believe that every marriage can be flipped, like any house that the wallpaper's coming off, the carpet's ruined, it needs new appliances. You can flip a house. We believe you can flip your marriage too and restore it to better than it was originally.
Yeah.
There's always hope, even when you're going through some dark times. And you guys have a great way of looking at it that's, I don't have to, I get to. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we have found is that we're all about how do you shift your marriage mindset and the way you think about marriage. And we found that that phrase alone can have an incredible impact upon a marriage when they start understanding that, no, you don't have to. You don't have to navigate through this journey right now. You don't have to navigate through this difficult season with your spouse. You get to. And that changes your mindset. It changes how you connect, how you communicate, how you move towards one another. So it shifts everything about and having this perception that I get to do this with the person that I'm called to love, that I've given myself to. And so we want to help them shift that mindset to say, hey, I get to do this with them, even in the difficult seasons.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. So you guys have some tips of things to stop doing to get back on the right track, starting with stop criticizing more than you compliment each other. I think even if you don't think you're super critical, we don't realize we don't give compliments very often.
Yeah. So often behind every criticism is a wish or a want by a partner who's seeking maybe more time together, maybe more connected activities together, or whatever it is. But we tend to lean into you always, you never, you don't value me, you don't put me first. Instead of, we could replace that with, you know what, I appreciate the time that we do get to spend together. I do love and value. I thank you so much for how hard you work for our family. Like, just replacing those simple statements in our marriage makes such a huge change.
And I think it begins to shift also how you view your spouse when you compliment. You know, it's very easy to find a criticism. It just is. After 31 years of marriage for us, I can find something today, right? But to compliment and to find that good, it changes how I see her. Now I'm seeing the good. I'm seeing what is right, because there's always good, and we don't want to forget that even in those moments where they're not your favorite person, there's always something good, and finding that will shift then how you even behave and how you move towards them.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, how about this next one? Stop bringing up the past when you said, I forgive you. We're all guilty of that sometimes.
It's so easy. We see so often in marriage that, you know, we say we forgive our spouse, but what happens is we keep this scorecard in the back of our pocket and we have written down and we bring it out. And we're like, see, do you remember how you offended me on this day? See, when you were really mean on this day. And we remind our spouse with those things. So when we truly say we forgive, we have to let go. Sometimes those memories are kind of sealed in there, but really forgiving means that we're not going to bring up the past and we're not going to use that in like a court case against our spouse. Because I'm not a lawyer, I'm a lover, and I want to move towards my parents, towards my husband, my parents. But we wanna ultimately find what's a win for our marriage.
Yeah, a win together. You're on the same team at the end of the day. Okay, how about this one? Stop avoiding conversations you should be addressing. Sometimes we have to have those uncomfortable conversations.
And listen, those are difficult conversations but we have to understand, like, how does our spouse process information, receive information? So it's easy to say, I don't want to talk about these issues, these struggles that we've had. And so what happens is if we retreat and pull back, we can tend to grow bitter and resentful towards our spouse. I would say a good 90% of the time when we talk to couples and they bring something to us, we ask them, have you talked to your spouse about this? They say, absolutely not, right? They'll bring it to us, but they haven't talked to their spouse about it. And so most people will avoid conflict, they'll avoid it. But conflict is healthy when it's done the right way, when you seek to understand one another first before being understood.
Yeah.
So those difficult conversations can be had if you choose the right timing, the right tone, right? The right moment when you can come to them, and it's easy for them to receive information and even process that as well.
What we always say around here is avoidance is not a strategy.
Yeah. Not a great strategy.
Yeah, and just knowing your partner's communication style can help you a long way too. Okay, how about this final one? Stop making your spouse your project. Oh my gosh. I've definitely seen that a couple times, right?
Yes.
That one hits home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We tell couples often, we do boot camps and workshops across the nation, and we tell couples that you don't have a marriage problem. You have a you problem and a you problem happening in your marriage, because there's two individuals that are coming together with different set of ideals and families of origins, and then we come together and try to do this thing called marriage together. And so we often try to have our spouse change, and any of you who have tried that, you can't get your spouse to change. That's not your responsibility. And if you try it and you figured it out, let us know. We'd love to know.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be going in that direction. So what we want to do is not try to have our spouse change and make them our project in order to make things better for us. And that's typically what we do. We want this to shift and change because it'll make it better on our end, as opposed to saying, how can I serve my spouse in such a way, right? And move towards and find out what is really going on, what is really happening, how can I serve them through the season that they're in right now. So don't make them the project. Have full ownership and look at yourself and what needs to change in you. And ultimately, that's what you're responsible for. And that can change your marriage in the long run.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Hey, tell me about how you guys travel around. You have a mobile lab. What is this vehicle?
Yeah, so we've been doing this work for about 13 years, but about 3 years ago, we made a decision to kind of take our work, kind of like a musician would go on tour across the country. We made a decision to take our work across the country in what we call the Marriage Lab, which is a 38-foot mobile marriage support fifth wheel, we call it. It's wrapped with a message of hope. It has our images on it. And basically we are going state to state across the country, 38 states in the last 3 years. And we do our marriage boot camps. We speak across the country. We produce our content and resources. But we made a decision to be all in and say, let's meet people where they're at and do something radically different. So we show up in every state and we get to work with couples and be able to have impact, hopefully, in their marriage.
How do you keep nurturing your own relationship? Because that's a lot of work.
Oh, we don't like each other. No. Not at all. No. It is work. And it's 31 years of marriage.
Yeah.
What I can tell you, truthfully, that this is my best friend. I get to serve her every day, and I find ways to be able to do that. And I'm not just saying that because we're on here with you, but it's truly my heart. And because of that, we would say we are two servants who are in love. But we have to cultivate, because we live in 38 feet all the time, 24/7 together. So we understand one another. We understand the space that we need. We take date nights because I can be in the same room with her and still miss her and still not be present with her. So we take date nights, we have fun, we get out of our normal environment, and we really look to how do we invest into one another. And I think date nights is one of the most important things in the relationship that is actually lost on so many. Because then they get to the end of, the kids are gone and they turn around, they have no idea how they arrived to where they're at. So we'd encourage people, just keep investing in one another, make your relationship, your marriage a priority.
Great advice. Hey, thank you guys both for being here. It was wonderful chatting with you today.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Of course, we'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.